The Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area is home to over 3 million people, despite being one of the coldest major urban hubs in the United States. Winters here regularly plunge below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, with snow and ice dominating the landscape for months on end. Step outside in January, and you're greeted by a world that looks and feels closer to the Arctic tundra than a bustling Midwestern city. Faced with a climate that tests both machinery and human spirit, one can't help but wonder how, and more importantly why, over 3 million people have chosen to build their lives in this winter-ruled land. There are no two ways about it. Winters in Minneapolis-St. Paul are brutally cold. For instance, in January, average low temperatures hover around 7.5 degrees Fahrenheit, while daytime highs barely reach 20.3 degrees Fahrenheit. To make matters worse, there are times where the temperature can plummet to a bone-chilling negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Snowstorms are common, and some winters, the region receives up to 50 inches of snow. Icy gusts of wind can drive the wind chill to dangerously low levels, making even a few minutes outside feel punishing. These harsh conditions and even harsher winters that come are enough to define the character of the region and its people, creating a resilience unique to this part of the United States. To understand how this compares to other famously cold U.S. cities, consider Chicago. Known for its blustery conditions, Chicago typically sees an average January low around 16.5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is still warmer than Minneapolis's 7.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Meanwhile, Boston and Buffalo, often associated with harsh, snowy winters, enjoy a slight moderating effect from nearby oceans or large lakes. Boston's average January low of 22.1 degrees Fahrenheit and Buffalo's 18.6 degrees Fahrenheit highlight their relative advantage compared to the Twin Cities. Minneapolis-St. Paul has no such buffer. Sitting deep in the North American continent, far from maritime influences, it's fully exposed to Arctic air masses sweeping down from Canada. In fact, some Canadian cities at lower latitudes can remain milder during winter because of their geography and local weather patterns. History reveals just how brutal winters in the Twin Cities can be. Notable examples include the record-breaking stretch of 66 consecutive days at or below freezing from December 19, 1977 to February 22, 1978. Other significant cold spells include 42 consecutive days from November 22, 1983 to January 2, 1984, and a more recent 35-day stretch beginning on December 31, 2010. These enduring freezes illustrate the region's reputation as a winter powerhouse. While many cities experience cold snaps, few can match the Twin Cities' prolonged battles with sub-zero temperatures and freezing days. Despite its unforgiving winters, Minneapolis is among the fastest-growing cities in the United States. Over the last 8 years, its population has increased by 9.25%, making it the fastest-growing city in Minnesota. The metro area population reached 3,014,000 people in 2024, a 0.8% increase from the previous year. Between 2010 and 2020, Minneapolis and St. Paul accounted for nearly a quarter of the region's population growth. Suburbs like Lakeville, Woodbury, and Blaine experienced dramatic expansions, with growth rates exceeding 20%. Even after population losses in 2021, Minneapolis has bounced back, making it one of the few large metros to see renewed growth in recent years. While the state of Minnesota has seen fluctuations in its economic landscape and population trends compared to other states with steadier growth, such as Texas and Florida, Minneapolis has emerged as a vibrant and thriving metro area. Cities like Chicago, Detroit, and New York, while historically significant, have experienced setbacks due to various factors such as population decline, economic restructuring, and shifts in industry priorities. In contrast, Minneapolis has actually managed to reverse some of these trends, largely due to its diversified economy, investment in technology and healthcare, and a strong workforce. Why would anyone choose to settle in a place where winters bite so deeply? How did a city, now home to over 3 million people in its metropolitan sprawl, emerge from a land so defined by its harshness? The answer takes us back to a time when the mighty Mississippi River carved through the wilderness, offering not just a lifeline, but a promise of power, of prosperity, of opportunity. For those bold enough to face the icy frontier, the river and its surrounding resources were irresistible. The story of Minneapolis has always been one of resilience, a city shaped as much by its unforgiving climate as by the ingenuity of the people who call it home. As the next 80 years unfold, the city stands on the brink of transformation, its future likely to look very different from its past. But to understand where Minneapolis is going and what might become, we must return to its beginnings. From the thundering force of St. Anthony Falls, a stunning natural monument shaped by centuries of erosion and boasting a 49-foot drop, which also drove the mills that built an industrial empire, to Minneapolis's evolution into a modern metropolis, this city has always been defined by its ability to thrive against the odds. Long before the first European settlers arrived, the lands that now make up Minnesota were home to indigenous peoples, such as the Dakota and the Ojibwe. They knew how to live off the land. They understood how to hunt game, fish in the lakes and rivers, gather wild rice, and tap maple trees for syrup. They knew how to survive the cold by understanding nature's rhythms and working with the environment rather than against it. For them, the brutal winters were no surprise. They were just part of the cycle of the seasons. To the Dakota, known as allies, and the Ojibwe, who followed prophecies westward to discover food that grows on water in the form of wild rice, these lands were places of deep spiritual significance and abundant resources. Their oral traditions, religious practices, and governance systems were rooted in careful stewardship of their environment. For the Dakota, who called this place Minnesota Makoche, the land where the waters reflect the skies, the region's lakes and rivers were more than geographic features. For the Ojibwe, migration stories and their reliance on wild rice underscored a similar reverence for local resources. When Europeans arrived in what is now Minnesota during the 17th and 18th centuries, they did not enter an empty land. Instead, they encountered a region bound together by ancient trade routes and guided by the steady flows of great rivers. These waterways, the Mississippi, the Minnesota, and the St. Croix, were the living roads that had long connected indigenous communities to one another. Early French explorers, such as Pierre-Charles Le Sueur and Daniel Greysolon, known as Sieur du Loup, were among the first Europeans to map and navigate these rivers and lakes. They moved through areas like the Mississippi River Valley, the shores of Lake Superior, and the forests and prairies beyond, forging new links in a chain of exchange that now reached across oceans. Their fur trading posts, often in partnership with indigenous trappers and hunters, became hubs of commerce. The Northwest Company's strong presence at places like Grand Portage showed just how far these networks extended. From the heart of what would later be Minnesota, goods like beaver pelts and other furs traveled to Europe, becoming part of a global market. Even the long, bitter winters did not scare away these traders or dim the importance of this northern gateway. By the mid-19th century, the character of the region began to shift. Larger numbers of European settlers, many from Scandinavia, Germany, and Ireland, arrived, each group bringing hopes, traditions, and a willingness to adapt. They were drawn by reports of fertile soils, thick forests, and wide rivers that could carry goods to distant markets. Between 1850 and 1900, Minnesota's population soared, rising from around 6,000 to over 1.7 million. These immigrants built farmhouses, raised barns, and planted wheat on the prairies, learning how to endure snowy winters and spring floods. They used the rivers for transport and energy, laying the groundwork for towns and cities that would eventually become thriving centers of trade and industry. The region's natural advantages that really stood out was at St. Anthony Falls on the Mississippi River. These falls, the only true waterfall on the entire length of the Mississippi, provided a unique source of power. In the mid-1800s, sawmills at the falls turned towering logs, floated them from northern forests into the lumberyard that built homes and shops across the country. Grist mills along the same stretch of river ground wheat into flour and would feed growing populations. Over time, these milling operations expanded and modernized, turning the small settlement near the falls into a city, Minneapolis. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, three key industries, flour milling, lumber, and hydropower, defined the local economy. The energy harnessed from the rushing water fueled machinery, lit street lamps, and helped Minneapolis become a center of industry and innovation. The city's fame in flour production reached across the globe. In 1880, Minneapolis was recognized as the flour milling capital of the world, producing more flour than any other place. Two major companies stood out, the Pillsbury Company and the Washburn-Crosby Company. Pillsbury's mighty A mill, completed in 1881, was then the largest flour mill on the planet, producing thousands of barrels of flour every day. Over time, Washburn-Crosby emerged with several other milling interests, forming General Mills in 1928, a name now known worldwide. Lumber was another key piece of the city's rapid growth. The vast, white pine forests of northern Minnesota seemed endless at first. By the late 1800s, lumber mills at St. Anthony Falls were sawing through millions upon millions of feet of pine each year, sending it off to meet the housing and building needs of a booming nation. Yet this prosperity did not last forever. Overharvesting depleted the northern forests. By 1910, the great age of Minneapolis lumber mills was mostly over, and many sawmills closed their doors. Still, the wealth and growth generated during those decades helped the city develop, setting the stage for more diverse economic activities in the future. Meanwhile, hydropower, the energy of falling water, played a central role in shaping the city's destiny. At first, simple water wheels powered the mills. Later, as technology advanced, turbines and hydroelectric plants replaced older methods. By 1908, Minneapolis had 3 major hydroelectric plants producing reliable, renewable energy. This power ran factories, lit up electric streetcars, and brought light and warmth into homes. This early embrace of hydroelectricity placed the city at the forefront of technological change, helping it stand strong as a modern, forward-looking metropolis. Between 1916 and 1970, the Great Migration brought many African Americans from the rural South to northern cities like Minneapolis. They came seeking better jobs, safer communities, and relief from the severe segregation and discrimination they faced in the South. By the 1960s, Minneapolis's Near North neighborhood had become a thriving African American community, home to about 1/3 of the city's black population. Businesses, churches, cultural centers, and newspapers like the Minnesota Spokesman-Recorder, founded in 1934, gave voice to black Minnesotans and advanced the fight for civil rights and equality. Hard times did come, of course. The Great Depression of the 1930s hit Minneapolis hard, pushing unemployment and poverty to new heights. In response, the city worked with New Deal agencies like the Works Progress Administration, WPA, to provide jobs. WPA projects built parks, improved roads, and constructed public buildings, leaving a tangible legacy that can still be seen today. This period tested the city's resilience, but the willingness of leaders and citizens to adapt and rebuild helped Minneapolis endure the crisis and emerge stronger on the other side. During these years, St. Paul, Minneapolis's neighbor across the river, was also growing and changing. Once just a small trading post, St. Paul became a major river port because it was the northernmost spot on the Mississippi accessible to large steamboats. As the railroad age dawned, St. Paul served as a vital hub connecting the upper Midwest to the rest of the country. By 1900, St. Paul's population surpassed 163,000, and the city prospered through shipping, commerce, and the movement of both goods and people. The two cities, closely linked yet distinct in character, came to be known as the Twin Cities. Together, they formed a metropolitan region greater than the sum of its parts. Throughout their histories, both Minneapolis and St. Paul benefited from the traditions of their immigrant communities. Each ethnic group, Scandinavians, Germans, Irish, African Americans, and others, helped shape neighborhoods, religious institutions, and cultural life. Scandinavian immigrants included folk music and dances. German newcomers brought brewing and cultural clubs, and African Americans created strong networks and fostered jazz, blues, and later on, new forms of music and expression. Each group brought fresh energy to the region, blending old traditions with the possibilities of a new home. By the time the mid-20th century rolled around, Minneapolis-St. Paul had become a major metropolitan area. Its resilience in the face of cold winters had paid off. The foundation was set for future growth, opportunity, and prosperity. Today, the Minneapolis-St. Paul region hosts numerous Fortune 500 companies, including Target, 3M, Best Buy, General Mills, and United Health Group. This clustering of major companies has helped drive a strong job market. The Twin Cities economy is notably varied, ranking as the 17th most diverse among all 384 metropolitan areas in the U.S. This diversity means that if one sector struggles, others may pick up the slack. As of 2024, the unemployment rate in the Minneapolis-St. Paul-Bloomington area is about 3% lower than the national average. The varied economy, with strengths in retail, medical technology, finance, manufacturing, healthcare, and more, makes for a stable and reliable environment for workers and entrepreneurs alike. Minneapolis has also emerged as a vibrant hub for startups and innovation, particularly in sectors like technology, renewable energy, and food science. This growth is supported by a robust ecosystem that includes initiatives, co-working spaces, accelerators, and a collaborative community. Programs like Launch Minnesota, a statewide initiative led by the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, aim to accelerate the growth of startups through grants, tax credits, and educational programming. The program also provides a statewide network to support the startup ecosystem, helping entrepreneurs connect with resources and collaborators. Spaces supported by Launch Minnesota offer modern workers and entrepreneurs access to resources and networking opportunities. Notable accelerators like Techstars Farm to Fork, supported by Cargill and Ecolab, focus on food tech innovations, while the On-Ramp Insurance Accelerator, partnered with Alliance and Securian Financial, supports startups in the insurance sector. Another major draw is affordability. Compared to coastal cities like New York, Los Angeles, or San Francisco, where housing prices often soar beyond the reach of middle-class families, the Twin Cities offer more reasonable living costs. As of 2024, the median listing price for homes in the Minneapolis-St. Paul-Bloomington area stands at $420,000. This is still a significant sum, but it is far below the seven-figure prices common in some coastal markets. This relative affordability allows families to find comfortable homes with yards and easy access to schools, parks, and workplaces. It also means that many residents can spend their resources on other things besides their mortgage, like cultural activities, hobbies, travel, and community events. Local governments have not ignored housing issues. In December 2018, Minneapolis became the first major U.S. city to eliminate single-family zoning, a transformative policy shift aimed at increasing housing diversity and affordability. Before this change, approximately 70% of the city's residential land was exclusively zoned for single-family homes. The Minneapolis 2040 Comprehensive Plan, implemented in January 2020, allowed for the construction of duplexes and triplexes on previously single-family lots, effectively upzoning the entire city to accommodate higher density housing. This landmark move sought to address housing shortages, promote affordability, and reduce racial and economic segregation by providing diverse housing types accessible to a broader range of residents. Early assessments show a gradual increase in duplex and triplex construction, contributing to the city's housing stock. Complementing these zoning reforms, initiatives like the City of Lakes Community Land Trust, or CLCLT, play a vital role in promoting affordable homeownership in Minneapolis. This nonprofit organization acquires land and maintains ownership, allowing low to moderate income individuals and families to purchase homes situated on this land. By removing the land from the speculative real estate market, the CLCLT ensures that homes remain perpetually affordable, even as property values rise. It provides financial support and education for homebuyers, stabilizes neighborhoods by maintaining affordable housing, and preserves affordability for future buyers through long-term stewardship. These housing efforts go hand in hand with broader goals for stable neighborhoods, accessible education, and community well-being. The Twin Cities region has met ambitious housing goals for 2 consecutive years, although challenges do remain. Past land use restrictions limited housing diversity, but policies like the elimination of single-family zoning and CLCLT initiatives demonstrate a strong commitment to making the area livable for as many people as possible. The strength of local education and healthcare systems also keep residents fleeing to warmer climates. Diversity in education is a priority for Minneapolis, with institutions like the University of Minnesota leading the way. The university's Office for Equity and Diversity, OED, oversees several impactful initiatives, such as the Community Outreach, Retention, and Engagement Program, or CORE, which supports culturally relevant STEM education, and the Equity and Diversity Certificate Program, which provides workshops and training to advance inclusion. These programs ensure that the university not only attracts but also supports a diverse student body and workforce, fostering innovation and equity. Minneapolis Public Schools, MPS, are also recognized for their strong commitment to diversity and STEM education. Programs like GEMS, Girls in Engineering, Math and Science, and Guys in Science and Engineering, provide hands-on STEM opportunities for K-8 students, while partnerships with local organizations bring cutting-edge technology like 3D printing into the classroom. These initiatives prepare students for careers in key industries and help build a future workforce that reflects the region's diverse population. Minneapolis has proven itself to be a burgeoning tech hub in the Midwest, with a $28 billion economic impact and 10% of its workforce in tech. In 2023, Minneapolis was listed as one of the top 10 cities for growth of tech jobs, demonstrating the high demand for tech workers across a range of sectors, including e-commerce and health tech. Healthcare is another area where the Twin Cities shine. Top-tier hospitals and research centers serve the community. The region's medical technology sector, anchored by companies like Medtronic, thrives on innovation. Medtronic, headquartered in Fridley, Minnesota, employs over 100,000 people around the world. Although it has recently closed some plants and distribution centers to improve profit margins, it remains a key player. The area's focus on healthcare services and medical innovation not only creates jobs, but also ensures residents have access to quality care. Nearby, Rochester's Mayo Clinic, one of the world's leading medical institutions, further cements Minnesota's reputation as a center for health and wellness. Of course, life isn't all about work and health systems. Residents also enjoy a high quality of life, with a wide array of cultural and recreational amenities. Minneapolis is home to world-class institutions like the Walker Art Center, one of the nation's premier contemporary art museums, complemented by the adjacent Minneapolis Sculpture Garden, featuring the iconic Spoon Bridge and Cherry sculpture. The Guthrie Theater, renowned for its innovative productions and striking architecture, adds to the city's cultural richness. The Minneapolis Institute of Art, MIA, offers free access to a collection spanning 5,000 years, ensuring art remains accessible to all. Minneapolis also hosts renowned events like the Minnesota State Fair, one of the largest in the nation, drawing millions annually to celebrate the state's agriculture, arts, and community spirit. The Twin Cities Marathon, often called the most beautiful urban marathon in America, takes runners through scenic neighborhoods and parkways, while the Summer Aquatennial Festival celebrates Minneapolis's connection to water, with activities like the Torchlight Parade and fireworks. The region's nickname, the Land of 10,000 Lakes, is well earned. And water is at the center of local life. Minneapolis alone features over 22 lakes within its city limits, and the Chain of Lakes, a group of 5 interconnected lakes, offers 13 miles of trails for biking, walking, and running. In warmer months, these lakes are buzzing with boaters, anglers, and picnickers, providing a welcome contrast to the deep winter freeze. The natural beauty available within the city borders makes it easier to accept the cold. After all, long winters give way to bright springs, warm summers, and colorful autumns. Residents come to see the seasonal changes as part of the region's charm. Good governance and civic engagement also play a role. Minneapolis and St. Paul both invest in schools, libraries, and local services. The University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, for instance, ranks 54th among national universities in the 2025 edition of Best Colleges. Good education, combined with well-funded public institutions, builds trust and community pride. The Minneapolis Central Library, for example, goes beyond lending books to serve as a community hub. It hosts social services and brings neighborhoods together, illustrating how public spaces can address community needs. This sense of collective problem solving can be seen everywhere, from how the cities plan their road maintenance for snowy conditions to how they organize cultural events throughout the year. People in the Twin Cities know that winters are tough, but they approach the season as something to be managed, not feared. They build insulated bus stops, develop reliable heating systems, and celebrate the season with festivals and events that turn the cold into a cultural asset instead of a burden. Beyond jobs and infrastructure, the way people have adapted their lifestyle to embrace the climate is key to understanding why the Twin Cities remain so well loved. Many residents find joy in activities that might seem strange to outsiders. Ice skating on lakes, playing pond hockey, cross-country skiing on groomed trails, and holding outdoor winter festivals are just a few examples of how people make the most of the season. One of the most anticipated events is the St. Paul Winter Carnival. As the oldest winter festival in the United States, dating back to 1886, it attracts over 250,000 visitors annually. The carnival features ice carving competitions, parades, and family-friendly activities, fostering community bonds and celebrating winter traditions. At the famous Holidazzle Festival in Minneapolis, crowds gather to enjoy light shows, holiday markets, and warm treats even when temperatures dip into the teens. These events not only provide entertainment, but also draw families together, strengthening community bonds and creating memories that last a lifetime. Food and drink also help people cope with the cold. Cozy cafes serve hot chocolate, cider, and chocolate. Brew pubs offer hearty ales and rich stouts that warm the belly. Traditional dishes passed down through generations, like Scandinavian pastries or warm soups, remind residents of their ancestors who weathered the same conditions. Long, cold nights provide a reason to gather indoors, share stories, and connect as a community. Sports also unite people. Minnesotans love hockey, and many communities have local rinks that come alive in winter. Cheering on home teams at the Xcel Energy Center in St. Paul, or catching thrilling football action in state-of-the-art stadiums provides locals with a shared sense of pride and excitement. These vibrant sporting events create a strong community bond, offering fans a lively atmosphere to rally around year by year. The region's art and cultural scene thrives despite, or perhaps because of, the cold. The Walker Art Center, the Minneapolis Institute of Art, and the Guthrie Theater enrich local life, offering a broad range of experiences that draw visitors from across the nation. When it's too cold to spend long hours outdoors, museums, theaters, and concert halls step in to provide stimulation and enjoyment. If life here were all cold and difficult, the cities would not have grown so large. But the truth is, people in Minneapolis-St. Paul enjoy a balanced way of life. Cultural amenities and recreational opportunities ensure that there is always something interesting to do, no matter the season. And when it comes to the job market, many would say that Minneapolis-St. Paul is thriving. The Twin Cities boast a robust job market that supports high-skill industries such as healthcare, technology, finance, and advanced manufacturing. As these sectors grow, the demand for skilled workers continues to rise, and it's projected to keep trending upwards. In particular, healthcare is huge here. It's the largest employing industry sector, and the demand for healthcare services continue to track higher as the state's population continues to age. So, with good jobs, reliable pay, and stable housing markets, people are given a sense of security. Additionally, high-quality schools provide comfort to residents of the city, feeling confident that their families can thrive. The presence of several prestigious universities and technical colleges fosters a pipeline of talent equipped with the skills needed to excel in high-demand roles. Additionally, local companies actively collaborate with educational institutions to ensure their curricula align with industry needs, further enhancing the region's competitive edge. On top of that, Minneapolis and St. Paul are known for their strong civic involvement. Community meetings, local advocacy groups, and neighborhood associations help maintain a sense of shared responsibility. This kind of engagement creates trust in public institutions and encourages creative solutions. When the pandemic years and subsequent challenges tested many urban areas, the Twin Cities continued to adapt, drawing on their tradition of cooperation and social ties. Yes, the Twin Cities are chilly, but that cold, over generations, has helped shape a warm and welcoming community. More than 3 million people call this place home, not because they have to, but because they want to. That is the true story of why so many live and continue to live in America's coldest major city. What about the 10 cities Americans don't want to move to anymore?